everybody, listen, I want to say thank you for taking the time out to spend some time with us today, and welcome to another episode of Autism, right? And the power of building your village, and the ABCs, and going through all the Ds. If you followed us since a week ago today, then you know, man, that Tiffany Colvin has come up here and showed out in all types of ways, right? She brings love, she brings compassion, she brings the knowledge and real life experiences in and around autism, and doing it on her own, right? And then finding and building a village, man. So you got some stuff that, oh boy, this week is golden. So, and listen, she even is going to drop some more nuggets on you by bringing a colleague and a friend in that kind of talks about some things. So I've got to be quick on this one so we can get everybody up on the stage. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Geoff Tyson, affectionately known as the Comeback King, host of Conversations with Geoff, and founder of Comeback King Enterprises, where we believe in doing this one thing, and that's helping people no longer see the comebacks in their life as limitations, baby. We're seeing them as gifts, as muscle builders, right? Get in the gym type thing, build that strength muscle around hope, build that strength muscle. Woo, man, it's gonna be a great show. Build that strength muscle around all the things that we hesitate to step into, right? And these ladies are going to come out with some real fire around things that are going to help those of you dealing with autism in a way that's really heavy on you, really taking away your energy, right? So I want to thank everybody for being here. Show some love in the comment section as the show goes on. Go to Conversations with Geoff, like and share and subscribe. And lastly, make sure that you take advantage of the information that we're going to go over today, and be sure you'll be able to reach out to the two speakers afterwards to get their information, and let's participate together. And know this, that these ladies that are coming to you today, man, understand the importance of sharing some hope, the importance of giving you some real life experiences that let you know that you're not alone, and more importantly, that you can do this thing. So anyway, look, I already told you enough. Let me get our expert in, who's been laying it out all week long and has got a mastermind around all what we've been talking about. My dear friend and our powerful speaker for the week, Tiffany Colvin.
Hello to your audience. It is a wonderful Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
We want to dig right in. We have a special guest today that is going to just lay upon us as much knowledge as she can concerning autism and what it looks like to have a safe place for your loved one. She brings a lot of creativity, flair. She's a photographer, a wonderful artist. And so we want to talk to you today about caregiving and making sure that you create a village, because it says, there's a saying that says it takes a village, and it truly does. Don't get trapped in the trap of isolating by yourself, but understand that there is community. And we were so in tune together today that all of us ended up with the same color palette on. So that's how good this show is going to be today.
Yeah, I love it. Right, the divine, he just shows up in all kinds of ways, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
I believe, I love that. Yes, ma'am.
So we are going to first talk about the ABCs. Just real quick, we're going to recap that. A is for autism. We know what autism is. It is a lifelong journey. We don't want to look at it as a negative thing, but we look at it as that Christmas gift that God gave us that we get to unwrap every single day. Then we want to think about the C, the care management. How do we care? Wait a minute. Did I forget the B? I did forget the B. The B. We're going to talk about the B, behavioral management, making sure that we do what we can within our homes to ensure that our child feels loved, cared for, and they feel empowered and embraced. Then we want to talk about that C, that care plan. How are we going to implement things within our home, within the medical community, within the regular community that are going to support our child's needs? And so today we're going to bring along a great friend of mine, Miss Ola Dooley, who is going to talk about and share her experiences both as a family member as well as a caregiver for those with disabilities. She's a great advocate and a creative. And so we want to talk about those things today, not just about, hey, my child's at home, but we want to talk about safety and their welfare because it is so important.
Well, listen, we want to say thank you for that introduction, and let us bring to the stage our new friend and your lifetime friend, Ola Dooley.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Hey, hello.
Ola.
Thank you for having me. I'm a little under the weather, so please excuse me for my voice. Let's see, where do we start? I guess I'll start by introducing myself. I have many jobs, but my most important job is I am a photographer. I for many years, I've worked with people with disability, mostly autism and other disabilities. It just, I guess it was something that I felt like I should give back by working with people with autism and disabilities. It comes secondhand to me, working with them. Yeah.
Nice. Now you can speak from a totally different vantage point than probably either one of us here.
Okay.
So let's just take my family situation
Okay.
for instance. So I'm the single mom. I've got, children with disabilities, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling like, hey, I cannot make it through. And so I might decide that, you know what, I need some help, but I don't know where to turn to. So
Okay.
how do you, as a family member, can you give me some advice on how do I come to you when I'm weary and I'm tired and say, you know what, I just need a break?
Right.
What do you say to that?
Well, I think that they think that people with disabilities or people with autism are a little more difficult than the normal child or things like that. I have a niece that has twins, and I I I babysit and deal with them a lot. So I actually usually I'll go get the kids and give her a little time off. But what I do is I actually make sure that the environment is safe when I do pick the kids up. I think I usually make sure it's really calm. I make sure that I make sure that they have their medicine or anything that calms them, um, because I don't want a situation where they can't handle an environment. Um, let's see. Um,
And that is so important what you're saying, because a lot of times, even just the family member sharing the fact that their child has some special needs is so important.
yes.
When you talk about medication, how many of our family members even know what that child is on? And
Yeah.
that is so important for their safety and their welfare, and then you speak about just giving that parent, especially a mother with, she's got two children with autism, she needs a break,
Yes. Sure.
and so I
Sure.
applaud you, because a lot of times family members will just kind of watch from afar off,
Yeah.
and they may be part of the solution, but they won't dig in. They'll just say, you know
Right.
what, she'll be okay. Or they'll say, well, I'll say a prayer for you. Well,
Right.
well,
Yeah,
we need
I
more-
understand.
we need
Yeah.
more than that.
And I also find out what they need to basically make my day go smoothly as well. There's just different things. Kids with autism, there's just so many things that they need to. They're different. They're different.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
different.
they're differently abled.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. For
And
sure.
I want to interrupt something, ladies. You said something. I want to go back to the family members and offering help. How is it? I see it two ways. I see some that say, "Thank God you're here," and then I see some that are like, "What are you talking about? There's nothing wrong." Right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you had both sides of the table, or you know about that? What can you say?
I have. I have. It depends. It depends on the extreme of autism that they do have. I have. I work with clients as well,
Mhm.
and I have one client that he only likes van rides.
Mhm.
And so what we do is we take him on van rides,
Yeah.
and that seems to calm him. We have no issues or anything like with him. Um, but the normal employee or someone that just came in, and they wouldn't be able to handle him on a regular basis. But
Mhm.
because I'm knowledgeable about this particular client, I know I know his background, and I
Yeah.
know what he likes, and I know the things that he needs to be calmed and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Tiffany said a lot about that all week long, and you said it too about having
Yeah,
a safe environment and then
most
creating
definitely.
some things that through routine and persistency.
Almost.
So I'll interrupt from time to time while you ladies are talking, just because I can.
We'll let
Right?
you
Right, because this is for folks out there on the set. This has not been rehearsed. This is something we put together. We want to show up and just be real with you as possible and deliver the message. So I want to thank you both for being willing to do that and for standing in a space that's real difficult.
in. Yes.
So,
Yes.
but both of you are champions. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes. And what you said was so true. When you were talking about in families, a lot of times we see, the reaction of I don't believe this. I don't want to accept it, because sometimes accepting a diagnosis requires us to look back and
Yeah.
Mhm.
look back in our family and in those households where we were told, what happens in our house stays in our house. Let's just take this issue and sweep it under the rug and
Mhm.
walk around the issue. And
Right.
so we see that a lot. We see that a lot of times can cause strife within families,
Yeah.
that leave individuals taking care of children or into adulthood by themselves. So
Yeah.
I know, Ola, you have been in that space where you have provided care for
Hmm.
individuals with disabilities
Hmm.
that have care outside of the home. So, what are some things that, as parents, as caregivers, as family members, we can look for? What do you have, like a checklist or
I
some
do. I
suggestions
do.
for us?
You definitely need a support system. That is so like the number one thing. Let's see. Well, a lot of people that have kids or relatives that are in facilities, caregiving facilities, that have children with autism or other disabilities. There is a few things that I wrote down that is very important, and it protects. It actually eases your mind, and it actually protects you from protects your child or adult from things happening. One is regularly visits, and um,
Yes.
I think it's really important that if you have a child or if you're guarding to a person that's in facilities of disability, to regularly visit that person. And I know that we have busy schedules and things like that, but it's really important because there's lots of there's just lots of different types of people in those facilities, and that's one. Also, we have to understand that even though they are considered, well, people consider them different, they still have feelings and they also communicate in their own way. So, of course, visiting them will probably make their day. Or so that is important. Um, Another thing is with people with autism and other disabilities, the littlest things make a difference. I had a couple clients that I used to work with for many years, and they would love for me to actually just take them for a ride, or take them to get Polar Pops, or just even talk to them. Um, and even though they communicate in their own way, they're still people, and they still have feelings, and they still have, um, they're people,
Yes.
and it makes a difference.
Yes, that's so good. And you touched on something that I thought about. I call it the wrap. It
Mhm.
is reviewing, just reviewing regularly, updating yourself on
Mhm.
whether that's with their teachers, with their
Right.
care planners, with their caregivers. Don't just send them off and never go and check on them. It will
Right.
be no different than, when your parent begins to age and you put them into an adult care facility, or you put them in a nursing home. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. So we
Right.
want to make
Right.
sure that we review, we assess, and then we plan. Okay. And so assessment is identifying, just like Ola said, their strengths and their weaknesses, and so that everyone is on the same page and they're not having an expectation that this child or a young adult doesn't have at home. you know
Right.
it
Right.
is so important that you do that. So I love that you talked about that, and just making sure that we are looking at the totality of the person, and
Mhm.
and addressing all of their needs.
Right. And also, when we do visit these facilities, check on their mental abilities, check on their physical health, see if they have any scratches, or they have changes in medication, or their behavior is different. I mean, it's really important for you to pay attention to, um, just that in general.
Mhm.
Like I said, there's so many different types of people working in those facilities. You just never know about incidents or things like that that may happen with your loved ones.
So if I could, in that space, ask a question,
Mhm.
how, going into these facilities, as I'm listening to you,
Mhm.
and you recognize that there may be some things that make you wonder if it's whether
Mhm.
it's self-inflicted or if it's the
Mhm.
facility.
Right.
Have you encountered facilities that have been negligent? And if so, what did you do, or is that something that hasn't come up yet?
Uh, yeah, of course I have. Um, yeah. Well, I mean, I won't say much about that, but like I said, it's very important to be aware of your person. It's very aware. I mean, it's important to be aware of their patterns.
Mm.
Um, it's important for you to be aware of, medication changes and behavioral changes, because stuff does happen. It's just, that's with anything in general, any profession. There's stuff that happens. You and so when I say regular visits, when you take regular visits, you're kind of ensure that if something actually happens, you're aware of. You could
Yeah.
have someone, the management, check on. Hey, I noticed that there's a bruise, or I noticed that he's not the same. A lot of people with autism and other disabilities, they are really routine.
Mm.
And so sometimes if that routine change, maybe something within their day has happened. And a
Mhm.
lot of people with autism and other disabilities, they can't, communicate that verbally, but their actions,
Yeah.
can let you know a lot if they're behaving in a peculiar way. Um, it could be many reasons. But like I said, regular visits, checking on, making sure if their physical abilities and their mental abilities are okay. Medication changes, that could cause them to behave in a different type of way. Um,
Yes. Yes.
Also, employees, different employees, or anything that comes into, you just have to watch their surroundings. It's important to visit so you could see their surroundings, and kind of you know, be
Yeah.
aware of who's working with your child. Like I said, there's a lot of different types of people working in those facilities. So it's important for you to kind of, pay attention and
Mhm.
ask questions. Questions are important.
That's right. That's right. And that brings up a good point. So if
Hmm.
I'm a parent and I see something,
Hmm.
what plan of action should I take? I know a lot of facilities may have like incident reports. Why is
Yes.
it important for me to make sure that I get one of those?
Okay. Well, it is protocol to notify the parent or the guardian when something does extreme happen to their children. Um, a lot of the times, the management within that facility, if you're like, there's some parents and guardians, they don't really check on the client,
Mhm.
and so they don't feel a need to actually update them about the client's situation. But if you're a parent and they know you come there every week and they know that you ask questions, they're more open to actually giving you that information, because of course it's a company, so they're watching, what they do, they're very careful. But like I said, if you're an active parent or guardian, just ask questions. Hey, I noticed that he has a scar. Well, how, and they do the same thing, particularly every day, so they'll definitely know what happened or who was on shift
Mhm.
when that particular incident happened.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so visibility is so
Mhm.
important. It sounds
Yeah.
like what you're saying is
Sure.
just not just sitting back and sending that child or that young adult or that adult into that facility, but actually checking up on them,
Yeah.
checking in, and asking the caregivers to be responsive.
Yeah.
I know in the educational system, a lot of times what you see is every so many weeks you may get a progress report card. So
Yes.
let's
It's
ask
important.
for those report cards on
Yeah.
what are you doing with my child? What are
Yeah.
you doing with my young adult? What is the goal? And how are we going to get to the next goal? So I think
Sure.
that is so important what you're saying. It is so important not to just sit back, but to actively advocate and participate
Yeah.
with your loved one and their care.
For sure.
Yes.
Man, you ladies are chopping it up. I love it. And I want to just interrupt one more time just because it calls on me to ask you these questions. You talked a lot about checking and being consistent and all the other things that go along with being the best advocate and
Yeah.
supporter that you can be. What is it about? This is more personal to you, Ola. You're an artist and a photographer,
Right.
and how does I'm sure that brings a flavor to you that the folks that you serve. Tell us about that. Tell us about that.
Um, well,
He's being
I,
shy.
well, I really, to be honest, a lot of times when you work in facilities, they don't really allow you to take a lot of pictures and things like that. But during holidays and things and special events, I get to take pictures. Um, I actually, to be honest, working with people with disabilities is actually a way that I give back.
Mm.
I worked in the fashion and sales industry for a long time, and I felt like it wasn't enough. By me actually being in this particular field, I kind of feel like we all need each other. And sometimes we don't realize that um, the simplest things that we do is really important to certain people. And for someone to actually just smile at, people with disabilities, or make them feel like they belong, because they do belong, is really important. Um, I just it just really endeared to my heart. I love working with people with disabilities. Um, I I just kind of it's kind of my way to figure out how I can make their life better.
Yes.
The things I can do, like I said, I've had clients. I used to bring the karaoke machine to work, and And I would let them pick their favorite song, and they loved it. And they knew that every Thursday, Ola was going to bring the karaoke, and they was going to get to sing their favorite song. And just the littlest things, even
Yeah.
Polar Pops. We would go to the store to get a Polar, and they
They
would
may
just.
not know what a polar pop is.
I
What is a polar pop?
know. I mean, the simplest things, but they knew that was something. I would talk to them, and they would tell me about their day, or just like I said, my nonverbal clients, van rides. Um, just treating them with respect and dignity.
Yes.
That's really important, because there's a lot of people out there, they are mean. they don't they they don't feel that they're the same as other people, and so they treat them differently.
Yeah.
And so I think that being an advocate, just basically letting people know that they are, even though they're a little different, they are human beings, and they deserve respect and dignity, and things like that. And they just the simplest things make their day,
Yeah.
just like we.
Yes. Yes. That's so good. So
Yeah,
good.
that's powerful. And both of you ladies light up. I can see when we talk about different things, the joy that you get from serving. And Andreas says, "Hey, great job showing up and speaking in this topic. Thanks for always being here, Andreas, because it's easy to kind of just. I like this because Tiffany says it a lot. It's easy to put our heads in the sand,
For sure.
right, and pretend like what we're seeing, the needs doesn't exist. Pretend like the chaos doesn't exist. But man, I love the fact that you ladies are not only doing all the other things in your worlds, but you're taking time to really stand in this space. So I congratulate you for
Yeah.
that. And I get goosebumps when I'm really talking to folks that are really in their space doing what they're supposed to do. So
Yes.
glad to be a part of this, and I'm really excited to be here today. So I interrupted you again, and I'll do that again and again, but Tiffany,
You are part of this conversation, and we applaud you for creating this forum. Because I think what we also need to appreciate is the fact that a lot of times we see a lot of women, but we don't hear a lot of men voicing their concerns, as fathers, as uncles, as grandfathers. I've had a lot of people that call me from all over the United States, and I'm always excited when I hear from fathers, to say, hey, you know what? I'm not with my child's mother, but what can I do? And what are some systems I can put in place? Because I've had parents that have contacted me that they don't have a good relationship with their ex-spouse or co-parent. And they ask me, well, what are some things I can do? And I tell them, you've got to be consistent. Don't just send a check and say, it's okay. A check is not enough when you have a child with a disability, because believe me, the allotments that you're sending aren't enough. But it's so important to give value to that child and spend time, give that mother a break, understand that she has a load that she's carrying like none other. So showing up to meetings and supporting her as she supports your child is so very important.
Sure.
Yeah. I love that. You've talked about that all week long, and Ola's agreeing with you, and I agree with you and that stuff too. So ladies, can we talk a little bit about finding the strength in the community? Really kind of what that looks like. If there's no community, I mean, I guess you have no community, you have a mediocre community, and you have one that's strong. But let's talk about that one that doesn't exist. How do you create that?
Okay.
I'll start. Because I guess I have the hands-on experience. So part of my story was, hey, I was now a mother of twins. I had my first child. They were 20 years apart. So already right there, I'm like, okay, new mom all over again. But now I was dealing with the challenge of children with special needs. It was something new to me. And I was also in the throes of, I had 10 days after my children were born, my father passed away. Then after that, here I was the caretaker of my mother, and then she passed away. So everybody was like, well, just get a family member to help you. Well, I didn't have that family. And it wasn't until one day I remember sitting and an older lady said to me, you have to create your village. And it hit me a totally different way, because my village was, okay, I got my intermediate family, I'm good, and a lot of the social organizations or DD services will require that you depend a lot on your intermediate family or your family resources. Well, I didn't have that. And I was trying to educate them and say, hey, everybody out here doesn't have that. So I had to learn how to create that. And how I began to create that is I began to look outside of the box of my intermediate blood relatives. I began to create blood ties with others who are dealing with the same challenges that I was. One of my son's best friends, the mother had triplets.
Oh, goodness.
And so they had some disabilities. And so we connected because we both were mothers of multiples. And so if I needed something, she would help me. And if she needed something, I would help her. And so we formed a friendship. Then I also started to look at daycare facilities. A lot of times you might have that one teacher that really connects with your child. So, reach out to them and say, you know what, if I ever need a moment, is there any way that maybe you could become a care provider? And then also look at your organizations such as your autism societies. Look at those national organizations, see if there's any social groups or support groups available. And so I'm going to turn it over to Miss Ola, because I know she has a lot of information as well.
Oh, goodness. Well, one thing I do for my clients is at first I test the environments. I do take them a lot of places with me. Well, I guess my clients that are more functional, what I do is I do test environments. I take them to parks a lot. I take them with me. Like we'll go to Target or other places, Walmart and things like that, just to see how they will act. Because a lot of times behaviors doesn't just come out the blue. I've seen them before. And so if I notice that they're not comfortable in their environment, we'll try another environment. So that is one way that you can actually see if your child will do well. And then if they do well in that particular environment, bring them around a little more and let everybody else get a little more comfortable with their disability or whatever things that they have that's a little different. Because a lot of times people are people are good. They'll talk to them. I have one client, he likes us, he loves church, and he loves for me to take him to church, and he says he says hallelujah all the time, and people say hallelujah, yeah, and he'll go and shake their hands and things like that. So I know that I can actually take him to church with me.
It's good.
My client that I usually have that takes van rides, I just usually I might let him. We'll drive around, and then sometimes we'll stop at a park, but he'll get out for a few minutes, and then we're like, okay, he's not feeling this. But sometimes he'll surprise us, and he'll get out and walk around, but he's just mostly straight to the van. I did have a client that he was a classically trained pianist. Well, actually, he basically he learned all that stuff by hearing it. So he didn't take any classes or anything like that. And he used to love music. So I would do karaoke with him and then take him places that there was music. So we would go in the summertime to a lot of the festivals and things like that. And he did really well in those environments. He was very social. So it's testing the environment and seeing what best fits them. And then you'll notice that people will talk to them. People will And then that's a way that you can actually meet people that are comfortable, because of course you do not want to, when you want to make sure they're safe, and not necessarily be around people that aren't comfortable with
Yes.
their disability, and you don't want to make them uncomfortable as
Yes.
well.
Yes, and that's so good. So in other words, you seek out the community by feeling the community out with that individual.
For
And
sure.
and then you give another suggestion. Churches sometimes,
For
a
sure.
lot of churches today have programs that are called, I think it's called special buddies or something
Mhm.
like that. I may have that incorrect, but best buddies, I think it is. And so
Yeah.
they will have like a mentoring program, or some
Yeah.
churches even today now have special needs programming,
No.
so that for that parent that, that child may have some tics, or, they may have Tourette syndrome or something that causes them to not be able to sit in a church service the full time. Well, they can go there. So
Sure.
look at those places as part of your extended village.
For
Yeah.
sure. And another thing, I think that as human beings, we're so like used to things going so perfect. We're so used to things being, but you have to understand that we are not perfect as human beings. So we shouldn't expect them to be perfect. Um, and so for example, if you're at church service and things don't go the way you expected, they can't sit through service, or they have to use the bathroom, try to be understanding and open to them maybe going to the you have to follow them, and make sure they're okay going to the bathroom, or just staying in outside, because I think that's really important, having patience.
Yeah.
um for sure.
So good.
And I'm hearing this has been awesome stuff. So I'm hearing you ladies say really be cognizant of
Yeah.
where you have them and possibilities of the things around them where you're at that could trigger them,
For
and
sure.
and all of those things, and then being patient. And that's I just like to always speak it how I think it, right? So being patient with them when you don't have any patience left.
Hmm.
For sure.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And
Uh,
that's hard sometimes.
For sure.
Ooh, I mean, it's not easy. How do you forgive yourself? What can you tell that person that just like, I can't believe I just did that.
Right.
Now what? And Andrea's just saying all these great things about what you guys are talking about. I agree, man, from older to young. But what do you do with that person that's holding their head right now and said, man, I can't take back what I just said. I can't take back what I just did. What now?
You know what I had to learn as a mom? I had to learn that sometimes I have to reduce down and go to my children and say I'm sorry. And I
Mm,
think that's something that as caregivers we have to remember,
Mm.
that hey, we are human. We have to give ourselves grace, and sometimes we have to ask our children for grace. And so I learned how to reduce down and go to them, and they teach me so much each and every day, because I said, you know what, hey, as an adult, I don't want to teach my children that, you never say you're sorry. You never, they never hear that, because, they put us as parents as on pedestals, but we have to be able to come down to their level and say, you know what, I apologize. Mommy shouldn't have done that way. Mommy shouldn't have spoken to you that way. Please forgive me. And then, give yourself the grace to again begin. And each day is a new day. You learn your lesson from that and you just keep on going.
For sure. For sure.
yeah, yeah. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Ola, before we kind of move on?
I love what she said. I'm, just saying, "Mommy's sorry." Um, Smiling,
Yeah.
letting them know that everything is going to be okay.
Yeah. And I think even what you were talking about earlier, it is the totality of how you say something that speaks, not just your words, but your actions,
Mm,
and reaching down into their space. If they're a little person, you go down into their space, you stoop
For sure.
down, you know, just like we do in church, you bow down, you
Right.
know.
Sure.
Sometimes we have to bow down our ego and say, you know what? I made this mistake. Mommy is learning just like you are, you know, and mommy makes mistakes. Daddy makes mistakes, but I want to be the best mommy or daddy for you.
For sure.
Yeah. And I want to add just one more piece to that, to the fellas out there that are listening, that, you know, not only do you need to stoop down, reduce down to the children, they need to also see you say you're sorry to your partner. Right? Let's take the pride off of all that we got going on, and man up and have a slice or a piece or a chunk of humble pie in the presence of your loved ones, whether they're autism or not, just so that they can understand the real gift of humanness, right? And that stuff. So I just, every time I hear that, it's kind of like I got to remind myself and the fellas out there, because, you know, we have this thing around being strong and not showing vulnerability and all the things that cripple us emotionally. And they're just another conversation. So I'm going to shut up.
It's not. It's part of this conversation. And it is great that you're saying this, because it reminds me, I have a friend that has a child with autism, nonverbal child, doesn't get along with mom. But I used to tell him this. He said, well, I'm not sending her this and I'm not doing this and I give her this amount of money. And I told him this. I said, it doesn't matter what she does with that money. It is your obligation to care for your child. What she does with it, God will get her for that. But
for sure.
Right. And on both sides, it's you doing what's right because your child is watching.
Yeah, always.
For sure.
They're always watching. Our kids don't do what we say, they do who we become.
For sure.
So, you know, we all know that, right? So, let's talk more about the village. I mean, you're heading into some great things. So can we go back to that now?
Yes.
The disrupt.
Yeah. So again, that village is so important. Don't just, be stuck on, okay, it's got to be blood. Blood is thicker than water.
Right.
Well, guess what? You need the water to drink. And sometimes you need the water to stay alive on this journey, on this path. You know, you got to get out of denial, the river, and understand that you are trying to survive. And so you need that water from whatever spring it's able to come from. You know, I learned even, as far as culturally, we can't always just stay in our own little cultural group and say, you know what, I can't get help from anybody else. I have formed alliances and friendships with people who I can call on. And it's not just for me. It is for when that mom calls me. I had someone call me from I think she was from North Hampshire, New Hampshire. I'm sorry, North New Hampshire. But she called and she said, I'm getting ready to be evicted. I have no place to go. And I have a child with a disability. Well, how I got hooked up with her was someone from Florida who I had talked with called me, and I was able to connect her with the right people. And maybe a few months later, I get a text from some woman and I'm like, who is this woman? And it was that woman. And she said, you don't know how you saved our lives. And so don't ever minimize what you are doing. I love what Ola said. Treating people with dignity goes a long way.
Yeah. And it's easy to do. I mean, it really is. And you ladies live in that space all the time and treat yourself with dignity.
Yes.
Right.
And then it just transfers to everybody else you meet. So, and then building the village, you talk about, outside the family, which is a powerful thing. You talk about institutions that are available. What can you tell? I mean, we've shared some things, but what hesitations may somebody have out there that maybe they're uncomfortable speaking to the person they see as a little higher level elevation than them, or they've been rejected in the past, and you're just like, man, they can't take another step in that space. When you're at the last resort, what else can you offer to them?
Well, for me, I would kind of say I'm quiet if you meet me in person. I think that as human beings, we, as far as our abilities, we kind of recognize different things in other people that um, we don't always talk about, and sometimes people are like I'm sorry, there's more people. There's people out here that are more outgoing than others. And so when we see someone that can't speak up for themselves or just need a little bit of, tugging or just need a friend, it's really important for us to reach out. And and I, if I've had that happen to me, like I'm quiet. So sometimes uh, I don't always say what I need.
Mhm.
But I've met people in my life that have came into my life that have been a little more outgoing or a little more vocal about, their resources through things like that, and that you just never know who could help you.
That's right.
And so it's definitely important for you to be open to that. Um, Different races, genders, and things like that. It's okay for other people to help you. I've had some really important people in my life that wasn't my that wasn't black, that helped me. And I also had people that were my nationality help me as well. So I think that we just definitely have to be open to, you know, the help from different people.
Yes, that's so good, and I love that you said that because I always say this: pain has no color. You know,
Mm.
For sure.
and I always think about that when I go into hospitals or meet people who
Mhm.
have cancer
Mhm.
or who have a child with a disability or are dealing with a physical ailment. It doesn't matter how much money you have, pain
Mhm.
is pain, you know. And so what is so important is that we treat the humanity of the
For
person,
sure.
and we're kind and we're giving and caring, and that goes so far. And I love what Ola said earlier. It is just giving a person with a disability a smile sometimes.
Sure.
And sometimes I look at them like they say about seniors, that they become the invisible people. They're standing right in front of you, but
Mhm.
they won't speak. And what I love is that I have lived going through a disability, and I remember being in a wheelchair or being on a walker or things like that. And I remember the only people that had the courage to come up and say something to me were children. They would
Mhm.
come and they would say, "Why you got that stick?" And I love it.
What's wrong?
The
Yeah.
adults they would be like, "Oh, and I'm like, it just reminds
Yeah.
me of the verse in the Bible that says that we're to come as little children. And so ask the questions. And so
Sure.
I think that as a mom with children with disabilities, I would rather someone come up and ask me than to
Yeah.
talk behind my back or, well,
Yeah.
what's that?
Yeah.
They're people. They learn
Yeah.
differently.
Sure.
So that is what I just appreciate. And I again appreciate both of you because you know you both are successful in the world. And so you could be off doing all kinds of other things, but you are here talking and trying to reach out to those who are sitting at home that are saying, I can't do this anymore. They may feel isolated, they may feel alone, they may have some of those D's going on, that depression, that that desperation going on, but you are giving back, and that is so important. When we invest in people, we get the greatest return.
For sure.
Ooh, I love that. That's all about what we're all destined to do anyway, which is to step into service at whatever level we can. And Andreas is talking about, he's from Venezuela and in the United States, and service and love doesn't have any borders,
Right.
right? And like you ladies have been talking about, doesn't matter what color it is, or I love what you talk about where pain sees no color, and joy doesn't discriminate, right? And having that responsibility to do that. And I wrote something down, and I'd like maybe we could get back to the village piece, but I want you to share maybe some of the gifts that you've gotten from working with children with autism and the gifts that these children really possess that we don't stop and recognize. I mean, we talked about that this week, Tiffany, on and off, and maybe both of you can speak to, the gifts that they've given you, and then some of the gifts that parents need to recognize for that. Slow down enough to recognize.
Yeah. Yes. You want to start, Ola?
Oh yeah, for me it's patience. I God's been working with me with that. And so I think that when we do deal with people with disabilities and autism as well, it's 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 important for us to be patient. Um, yes, that's very important. It actually helped me to be a little more patient.
Mm.
Let's see. I I guess appreciating the littlest things because every step is important. So, being um well, like I said, most people with autism disabilities, they have different things about them that they're working on. And so just to recognize the steps that they're taking and noticing that they're important and giving them praise about it, it's very important as well because it makes them feel like they're important, they're part of things.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good, so true. And like you said, I'll piggyback on that. That patience
Yeah.
is a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely have learned that, but I think it has taught me. I always allude to the five love languages.
Yeah.
It has taught me how to love people differently and look
Yeah,
at
sure.
what they need, not what
Mhm.
I need, but what do
Mhm.
they need? Because I had to learn that both of my children were different and one needed things. He needed
Mhm.
those little gifts. I was like, why do you want this junk from the dollar store? And but then something just clicked and it was like for him, me
That-
saying no was like saying, I don't love you.
Mhm.
But if it's that dollar store item that made him feel good, then
then
why
yeah.
not buy whatever you want from the dollar store?
Right. Right. Exactly. For sure. For sure.
My other child, he needed to be held. He needed to be touched. He needed to be told that he was doing well, and so we have to figure out what is their love language, just like
Yeah.
we do in every other relationship in life. And then like Ola said, being patient. Patience is part of that love. It is saying, you know what, I might be in a rush, but I had to learn how to stop and
Mhm.
slow down
Yeah.
because
For sure.
the world's going to keep going. But in this moment, I don't want to say something that I can't take back.
Yeah.
And I always use the analogy or the visual illustration of a piece of paper. Once you have a piece of paper, and that's our words, what we say. So it's flat, it's straight, but once we crumple it up with our bad words, it never goes back to being straight. And so we have to make sure that we don't crumple our children's lives or those with disabilities and say, in a moment of anger, in a moment of being impatient, we don't want to forever tarnish who they are.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I love all of what I'm hearing, and as I'm listening to you, makes me think about working with busy professionals a lot. They're on high level and they're moving and they're doing that. So by the time they get home, they haven't recharged yet. So they give everybody out in the world their best, and then they can come home and give their children what's left.
For sure.
And in that space, like you said, you can't do that. So I like to think of words as there's a great book called Velvet Words, or Hung by the Tongue talks about using velvet words, and velvet words, man, they just stick to it. Words either way stick to us.
Yeah.
Our bodies hold everything, our spirit and all that is locked in. So what you ladies are saying is really powerful to remember patience and kindness and those things. So I just was curious as to what you can do. And now, Tiffany, I'm gonna ask you because both of you ladies, I want you to answer the question. Tiffany, you had firsthand experience on recognizing the gifts that your children had. And then Ola, you probably seen it over time with visiting. So I'd like maybe both of you ladies to share, if you could, as we start. Man, we were already burning up some time, ladies. We'll be done here in a minute, and there's just so much to talk about. So I commend you for showing up, and we're gonna have to do this again. But see if you could speak to what I just said.
Yeah. So again, my sons, when they were maybe like 3, they were able to rattle off all of the 300 members of the draft, and they put them in order and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, that seems odd. Because again, they're at the point they can't do what a normal child could do at that time, but they had this gift. And so we have to treasure the gifts that God has put into these individuals. Again, I tell the story of children who, like Ola alluded to, they are classically trained, but they've never been trained. Their mind picks up things and places it in the storage of their brain, and they're just able to produce. And so I just want to continue to tell people that, hey, these individuals are subject matter experts. Find out what they are an expert in, and begin to explore that. Begin to look towards, even as they get older, of the vocation. And what I hope and I pray one day is that we will have companies that will look at these individuals and say, you know what? That little guy is great and knows everything about vacuum cleaners. Why don't we utilize him?
Yeah, for sure.
And so
for sure.
that's what I pray for someday.
For sure. Yes. As Tiffany said, exposure. Take them places, get them, more a little, like if you notice they're into music, take them to festivals. There's a lot of free things that go on in the summertime. There's things that they can just watch. If you're not sure if, their behavior is going to be well, just, bring them in that environment and then see how they react. Exposure is very important because they are still learning.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand that, their learning might be behind, but it's not that they're not learning. And so for example, there might be even adults that you take care of and they have autism or other disabilities. Their mind is a little bit behind. So stuff that we expose, they're still learning. So it's really important for you to, take them into community and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And Ola, can you speak to, what do you do with that child or that individual that, I always joke and I say that people will always say, your child is artistic. They're artistic. It is not artistic. They have autism.
Yeah.
And I'm going to write a book that says they are not artistic.
Yes.
So how do you channel that with what you do?
I to be honest, I work with so many different people with disabilities. And so for me, I just, like I said, I'm really skilled at knowing, paying attention to what they like and what they don't like. And then I go from there. Like I said, exposure. You find, if they like art, you start getting, paint. You start getting them used to like pencils and paper, and just if you notice that they're not really that ahead, you just kind of the simple crayons.
That's right.
And you see what they like.
That's good.
And so that's what I do. I find out everything about the client that I'm working with, and I start from there. Even music, I'll sing little songs to them and act silly with them to make them happy. I'll say, come on, let's dance. and that makes them happy. So I would say just exposure, to different things. Yeah.
And that's good. That's so true. exposure, exposure, exposure,
Sure.
not limiting them, and there's a lot of programs out there in the arts, right? Oh, excuse me.
Mhm.
Excuse me. In the arts right now that have sensory nights,
Mhm.
whether it's in an art gallery, in a museum,
Right.
a concert. So look into those
Mhm.
where, their disability is not an issue. It is getting them out in the community and exposing them to the greatness of this
Mhm.
world. And I love that you use the word exposure, because that's
Mhm.
part of photography. You're exposing them to the light of this world. Regardless, there may be some negativity, but
Right.
there's still that brightness, and we can just imagine the pictures
Mhm.
and the images of who they can become.
For
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
You'll realize that a lot of people are really comfortable with people with disabilities. It's just that sometimes if we're self-conscious about something, we project that on other people. We have to realize everybody don't think like we do.
Mhm.
There's people that are used to being around, and people with disabilities.
Mhm.
So we can't kind of limit that.
Yeah, I guess we just need to see through the dust and the fog to the human being that lies behind that for all of us.
Yes.
So, ladies, I have a couple things I want to say out loud now because we're already over our time, and I could keep you here all afternoon because we're just getting started. I feel like we're just getting started on some of the things. So, April is international. I call it International Disability Month. So there's some things that certainly we could probably look at doing in the month of April. If I could get you ladies to, on camera, say, yes, I can commit to that. That way you can't get out of
Mhm.
it. First, and then as we wind up, I'm going to give each one of you just a minute or so to kind of make sure you speak to something that's still on your mind that we haven't touched on. And if not, then recap what this has meant for you and what you want people to take away from this call today. Because we talked about a lot of things, but if you could kind of vertically line it up with maybe one or two, because we talked about a lot, one or two things that they can like take away and do now immediately, both from the dealing with children, and then Ola, I heard you mention adults throughout the conversation, and maybe what the adult side of it is. And Tiffany, your boys are becoming young adults, so you may be able to speak to both of those. So whichever one of you ladies would like to go first,
Go
please.
ahead, Miss Ola. Which
Tiffany. No.
So I'll go first. So I would just like to first, I always want to encourage parents to know that, hey, what you're doing matters. You matter. We care about you. We want to make sure that you never feel like you are alone out there, because I have been there, done that, got the t-shirt. We don't want you to sit and wallow in the diagnosis. What we want you to do is see it as a gift and begin to unwrap it. And we are here to help you unwrap it. We are here to stand alongside you and say, you know what? You don't have to go through this journey alone. That we are here to encourage you, and we are so proud of you. Give yourself grace each and every day. And if I can't instill anything else in you, be consistent. Children thrive off of consistency. Just make sure you start small so that you can finish big. And we want your children, your young adults, to finish big in life. And so keep on doing what you're doing, keep on keeping on, and we applaud you for all that you do each and every day.
Mm. All right. So for me, I would say be open to help. A lot of people with kids and adults with disabilities, they're not open to getting the help that they need. Open to being patient with your child with disabilities, and know that there is someone out there that can help you. Let's see. Be open to their patterns, making sure that you be aware of their patterns and things like that. So if there is something that needs attention, you're very aware of it. And yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say.
That was great. That was great. That's great. And patience. Ooh, that's a big
Patience.
thing.
Patience and force. Yes, Lord.
Boy, yeah. I'm just thinking about how patient am I, how or not, and how many times how I need to get better with my wife and everybody else with these things that we're talking about, right? So thank you for all the reminders. Thank you for this a ton of information here today, and I really want to just say, ladies, that it's been an honor to have both of you here today, and Tiffany, for you to kind of show up every day from a week ago today, and always have something powerful to deliver every day, right? I mean, truly a gift. And man, I can't wait to tap into all the other things that we didn't have time to do today. And Tiffany was spot on when she said, Geoff, I have somebody that is key to our mission, which is to stop seeing autism as a limitation, but seeing it as a lifestyle, part of the comeback process that we believe in Comeback King Enterprises, where it's not about the roadblocks or the things that we stumble over. It's the strength and the gifts that we get and standing in our purpose after it's all done, right? And you ladies are truly doing that. So how do people get a hold of you? And I'm going to let you go. I halfway promise I'll let you go.
I say he's like one of those preachers that gives benediction 3 times.
15 minutes later, I'm still talking. So
perhaps that's really your calling. No. So again, I'm just grateful to be here and to stand alongside people. And again, I commend you both, and I thank you for the opportunity and your expertise and just the wisdom and knowledge that you give each and every day. And again, to you, the Comeback King, I thank you for standing in that position and in that stance as a man. I just applaud that, because we don't see that a lot in our communities.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you. All right. Well, until we meet again, ladies, have a fabulous rest of the day. Ola, don't know that we know how to get a hold of you.
I didn't get that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ola.
I'm a little under the weather, but you can reach me at olalolaphotography.com. That's where you can actually book shoots. And I also work as a freelance photographer as well. But you can reach me at Ola Dooley 100@gmail.com. And that's my personal email for my photography. It's olalolaphotos@gmail.com.
So that's Ola Dooley 100@gmail.com. We'll get that one in there, and then they can reach you from there. If they have any problems, they can reach out to us.
Okay.
Yes, and as you all know, you can reach me on Instagram, Facebook, all of the platforms at Tiffany Colvin. And again, I am happy to answer any questions and connect you wherever I can.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, ladies. Blessings to you both. It's been a pleasure. And until we meet again, keep doing what you're doing. It's necessary. It's needed.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, man, what can I say other than go back and start from the beginning, get your pad and paper out and go back through it. And if you hadn't taken notes this time, take some notes on this stuff. And if you noticed through this whole thing, no one talked about having to invest in therapy or some other things. These are the things that I like to call them homegrown steps that you can use, right? And man, so it takes away the excuse. We look for comeback king warriors and queen warriors to take away the excuses, guys. We want to be your support system that removes the excuses, takes away the frustration and the anger, and helps you guide you through a difficult time. So I want to thank our speakers again, and I made so many notes, but I'm going to recap. Encourage parents We want to encourage you and encourage each other and be open and be patient and know that you don't have to take this journey alone. So be on the lookout for some really powerful things that we've got set up for the month of April. And I want to thank Comeback King Enterprises for putting all this together for us. And I want everybody to understand this. Stop seeing the comebacks as limitations and see them as a lifestyle that's necessary for us to rise. Your comeback starts now. Let's rise together. You guys have a great, fantastic day. You know how to reach me. So if anybody needs something right away, don't wait until later. Just DM me right away, and we'll make sure that we get whatever it is that you're looking for and looking for it right now. All right, take care. Go back and listen to this. Share this information. And just understand that we believe in each and every one of you. Have a great day. Thank you.